you. You didn't see that coming.
Everything starts with life and ends in death, right? Yeah, well, that's if you stay dead. The thing with comic-based characters is just as much as they drag themselves to life-threatening situations, they also have a hard time staying dead too. More for us fans, I guess. In 2019, Marvel wrapped up the Avengers, for the time being at least, ending the lives of a generous handful of our beloved heroes. But now, with new series like WandaVision popping up and everyone's mind-stone-wielding vision coming back to the TV screen, we thought of taking a trip down the resurrection lane. So here are the top 10 superheroes who managed to cheat death.
What? What is it? What's wrong?
A dash of Wakandan vibranium, a hint of Asgardian lightning, topped off with an Infinity Stone. I guess death's just a concept when you're made out of some of the most powerful elements in the universe. Or is it? Because Infinity War saw Vision killed off not once, but twice. First when Wanda destroys the Mind Stone, and next when Thanos turns back time and pulls the stone off his forehead. But 5 years later, Vision seems to be anything but dead, living the picture-perfect married life with his beloved Wanda. No one knows for sure how this is possible though. Marvel threw everyone into confusion with their brand new WandaVision series. We aren't even sure if he's actually alive, or if all of this is actually in just Wanda's head. After all, she can alter other people's sense of reality, so why couldn't she do her own? But then episode 5 showed that Vision isn't in her imagination or from the multiverse. It seems like Wanda stole Vision's remains and reanimated him, quite contrary to her lover's will. Talk about zombie love.
Am I dead?
No, no. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
I must take the mantle back. I must right these wrongs.
Coming in next is Black Panther. After spending the better half of the movie making the audience fall in love with him, it's no wonder that hearts got ripped out when he was thrust off the waterfall on and off screen. As it turns out, T'Challa's just put into an organic cryo-freeze by M'Baku. Seems like the Jabari tribe have a true warrior's sense of honor. While T'Challa's death's brought on because of the worst in Wakandans, he's saved by the very best in them. The revival also reveals a great deal about T'Challa's character. As much as he loved his father, T'Challa wasn't the type to let their fear of discovery get in the way of doing the right thing. That's the one thing that drove him to fight for his recovery. And let's not forget the grand comeback of the Black Panther. When he claims that he's obviously not dead with a grin on his face, it's quite clear who the King of Wakanda is. And all these iconic scenes were shot while the actor himself was battling stage 3 cancer. Rest in power, Chadwick Boseman.
I never yielded! And as you can see, I am not dead!
From programmer and hacker to the One, being raised from the dead took a whole new meaning in The Matrix. Neo, or Thomas Anderson, was a normal citizen by day and a hacker by night. But what he didn't know was that he was the One, a man born within the Matrix. All of this goes way over his head, and he ends up passing out from information overload. Then the all-knowing Oracle says he's not the One, so everyone was wrong? Then Neo gets killed within the Matrix, riddled with bullets by Agent Smith. But he wouldn't be on this list if he stayed dead, right? So yeah, Neo is revived with a kiss of life from Trinity. Now he's without doubt the One, since he goes bullet bending and exploding Agent Smith. One of the most buzzing questions surrounding this scene was about when Neo became the One. The common answer is that it happened when he was reborn in the Matrix, but according to the architect, Neo was always the One. He just took his time getting there since his experience came through love.
How?
He is the One.
Catwoman was resurrected by cats, and in The Crow, we have a resurrection by, yep, you guessed it, a crow. This scene is from a little-known comic character played by Brandon Lee. Eric Draven is your everyday goth dude due to get married on Halloween. A few thugs break in and ruin his wedding plans by beating and raping his fiancée and shooting him to death. But a crow taps on Eric's grave, jolting him awake. His undead version becomes a vigilante, seeking vengeance for the murder of his fiancée and him. The crow, in this case, happens to be a supernatural bird that allows murder victims to get justice, and Eric was a case in point. And he isn't just brought back to life. Eric's zombie version has all the perks of a vampire, super strength, regeneration, all that sort of stuff, without any of the weaknesses. However, things didn't go well off screen in this one. While filming the scene of Eric being shot to death, Brandon Lee was actually hit by bullets, and he later died from the injuries. Next up is the undeniably lovable plant being who moved the entire audience to tears with his death. Putting aside all the criminal convictions, because let's face it, everyone on the main cast of Guardians of the Galaxy is riddled with convictions, Groot is, down to the very bone, or fiber, fiercely loyal. He's a peaceful tree going about his business right until you tick him off. Groot's sacrifice at the end of the movie brings out just how much he loves his team. Despite his nonchalant ways, he deeply cares about the people close to him. And when push comes to shove, he sees the bigger picture and doesn't hesitate to put his life on the line to keep everyone safe. I think we're all delighted when the little twig started dancing in the post-credit scene. Now, Groot's on this list because most fans believed Baby Groot was reincarnated Groot. However, James Gunn revealed on Twitter that Baby Groot was in fact Groot's son. That would explain the whole growth phase and grumpy teenager stuff the little twig went through.
Jean?
In the comics, there's probably no other character who's risen from the dead, and it's no different in the movies. Jean Grey first dies in X-Men The Last Stand when Wolverine had no choice but to stab his beloved to death. Probably would have eased his pain if he knew that she wasn't the kind to stay dead. Then at the end of Days of Future Past, both Jean and Scott are apparently alive. And trust me, Logan wasn't the only one who was confused. Apparently, Logan's attempts to save the future somehow created a new timeline where Jean Grey wasn't killed. Then came Dark Phoenix, where everyone except Jean got closure. One would assume that being vaporized is enough to be declared dead, but at the end, a flaming phoenix flew throughout the skies, and unless Phoenix was becoming a thing, it was Jean Grey, alive and kicking, well, flying at least. According to the comics, some cosmic destruction at the Phoenix hands is due, so I'm not sure whether this resurrection is something to be celebrated. When they said Superman versus Batman, I wasn't really expecting anyone to die. Then again, when you know that Henry Cavill was signed on for 2 more upcoming movies, I wasn't expecting him to stay dead either. Superman, being the perfect hero he is, sacrifices himself to keep us human beings safe from Doomsday's wrath. Weakened by the Krypton spear, he gets impaled to death. Despite knowing at the back of my mind that he was somehow going to return, Superman's funeral was a rather moving scene. Then came Justice League, where nothing can go right until Superman's resurrected. And so the team joins hands for something which, as Flash rightly says, goes all Pet Sematary on them. This resurrection was the first on-screen appearance of the darker side of Superman. It shows that underneath Superman's perfectly humane persona, there might be something darker lurking around. It's possible that if not for Lois Lane, Superman would have very well degraded into a tyrannical usurper. Thank God for big guns.
Glad I didn't miss this.
So am I.
Yeah. Now she's glad.
The X-Men's pretty confusing and undoubtedly complex. The handful of deaths and reappearances certainly don't help. The movies aren't as complicated as the comics, but they do have their fair share of confusion. The appearance of Professor X in Days of Future Past after being obliterated in The Last Stand was one of those problematic scenes. In The Last Stand, Jean, with her dark side unleashed, reduces Professor X into just a handful of ash. Then, lo and behold, Professor X is perfectly alive in Days of Future Past, hovering around like nothing ever happened. Fans were quick to raise havoc on this point. The only explanation offered was that during the vaporization, Professor X's psychic transferred into the mind of some comatose man on life support. But then, how does he look exactly like the Professor that got obliterated? One of the writers suggested the comatose man was actually the Professor's twin. Okay, if that's the case, why does he need the hover chair? All we know for sure is that for better or worse, Professor X lived on.
Hello, Moira.
Charles.
Long lost bro get to squeeze his stinking sister to death or what?
You didn't see that coming? Well, I doubt anyone else saw long dead Pietro's return in WandaVision, and certainly not the character played by Evan Peters. Quicksilver, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, got shot through like Swiss cheese by an unhinged Ultron in Avengers Age of Ultron. Like Vision, Pietro died, and like Vision, he's somewhat not dead in WandaVision. As episode 5 of WandaVision comes to an end, the long-lost bro comes knocking, literally. Wanda stares at him in shock. The audience stares in equal disbelief while Darcy, quite rightly, speaks out loud our thoughts.
She recast Pietro?
This was apparently an idea a long time in the making with the writers. The head writer, Jack Schaefer, said, "We just thought it would be the biggest thrill to bring Evan over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe." Given Wanda's shock, she definitely had no hand in reanimating her brother.
Who's a popsicle?
Taking the top spot, we have the most epic scene in, dare I say, all of superhero history. The Endgame Avengers assemble. After long and weary battles with many lives lost for good, including Loki, Thanos finally gets his way and snaps off half of the universe's population. Our all-time favorites like T'Challa, Peter Parker, Bucky, Fury, and Groot are amongst those snapped away. 5 trillion beings were wiped out of existence within a matter of minutes. Needless to say, it was the greatest tragedy of the universe, and that makes the return even more awesome. The entire audience held their breaths when Hulk did the blip or the resurrection snap. With his warp plans to save the universe, Thanos managed to tick off every living species. He gave them a reason to join forces and fight, and boy did they get together so well. I'm guessing everyone was all but at the edge of their seats when Doctor Strange teleported everyone onto the battlefield, and nothing motivates you like trying to avoid death for the second time. Superheroes spend most of their screen time making us fall in love with them, and that's what makes their deaths so gut-wrenchingly agonizing. But it's also what makes their resurrections that much more amazing. And the scope for story writing freedom in comics gives the writers all the room they need to take characters back and forth through life and death. Which one of these revivals caught you by surprise the most? Let me know in the comments below. Also like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on the TV Regent.